Should the unemployed get free driving lessons? Do give us a call on this one, 0207 862 2222, and we'll speak to you in just a moment. A care recruitment firm is going to offer subsidised lessons to help people get back into work. Experts have said that Britain has 9.4 million missing workers who are currently economically inactive. With that in mind, should we go one step further and offer free driving lessons to all unemployed in order to help people get back into work? Michael, what's your thoughts?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, we often hear sort of the government say, we need to get more people who are economically inactive back into work. And they sort of try and say this is for their own good. It's because having a job is good for you. It's good for your mental health. I actually do agree on some level. But I think we do need to do a lot of things to ease people back into work. And what better way to ease someone back into work than give them the form of training that they actually want, right? So, people might argue, then people will quit their jobs just so they get free driving lessons. Again, I think people overestimate how much unemployment benefits are. They're only £90 a week. So being on £90 a week and then getting subsidised or free driving lessons, I think is a perfectly decent compact that we can make with people to try and get them and back into the workplace. Do
you think free driving lessons would help people back into the workplace, Geoff?
I think the main problem with this, because they also talk about subsidised insurance as well.
Yeah, there was subsidised insurance and also e-bikes.
I think this would try selling this to the public at this point, right? We've already had the discussion about the winter fuel payment. Try saying, can you imagine the headlines, right? And we shouldn't only be governed by headlines, but essentially unemployed people to get free something. Any political party that goes into bat with that as a strategy. And I sort of think maybe, at a time where we were running a surplus, this might be a luxury we could afford, but I think politically it would be very difficult. It's also kind of weird now. Look, I'm not the greatest green activist that's ever lived, but I kind of at a time when you're supposed to be encouraging people, discouraging people from driving onto public transport, it would seem it would probably face attacks from the Green movement as well.
But we've also got 100,000 vacancies in the care sector, which is where this idea has originated. And when you work for home care, you're going from house to house. And in order to get from home to home, you have to drive a car. So it is actually looking to skill up unemployed people in order to work in their industry. There is a bit of logic in this.
Yeah, for the care firms, I think that the government could potentially find ways of incentivising this for companies to offer it. But I think in terms of the government actually offering this, I think politically it's a non-starter.
OK. I know you're desperate to come in there, Michael. We're going to get to you after the break. We'll come back. But we also want to take some of your calls after the break on this. Should we give people hoping to work in the care sector will soon be offered discount lessons, but should everyone be entitled to free driving lessons? That's what we're asking. Michael, I cut you off before the break. Do you remember the point you were going to make? I just felt bad because you wanted to get in there on something.
Well, I was just going to say you could be kind of smart about it. It could be a government loan that you don't have to pay back if you get a job, within 6 months or something like that.
What, like a student loan?
Yeah, you could do it like that.
Okay. Christine from Norfolk, what do you think about this?
I'm actually quite disgusted with it all, to be frank. Okay. If you're unemployed, why should you be getting all these handouts? Having a license, who's going to pay for the car? Number one.
Well,
if you have all these lessons, you still got to pay for a car. You've got to get through your theory. My grandchildren had to take their theory like 3 or 4 times before they passed it. Are we going to keep paying for all of that? We've got all these illegal immigrants we're paying for. You don't give the money to the elderly. I mean, it's ridiculous. This government is just losing the plot.
But Christine, is it actually investing to get more back? Because I agree on the face of it, and actually Geoff has already brought it up. When you're talking about winter fuel payments and then the headline is free driving lessons for the unemployed, you're absolutely likely to get the reaction that you have, Christine. But if every time you give free driving lessons, you get somebody into the care sector where we are woefully understaffed, isn't that worth it?
The jobs are there already. If they really wanted those jobs, do you not think they would go for them?
But perhaps driving lessons, the insurance costs, because they are sky high, particularly if you're a male under the age of 25, perhaps they will stop somebody from even looking into it.
But
I disagree. They're just giving money away for nothing.
I mean, first, I should just reassure Christine, this isn't official government policy as of this point. It's an idea that we're knocking around. But in a way, Christine kind of proves the point I was saying earlier, that there'll be an element of hostility in reaction to this. And I think there is, obviously, insurance costs have gone up. But some of the fundamentals you're talking around have always existed. There are certain jobs that have always needed a car. So I think sort of saying now, as why it wouldn't have happened before. I don't know if that argument will wash with people.
Well, it has always been the case, actually, that you are entitled to certain free courses if you're on unemployment benefits. So it's not a completely new idea. I also do think that, it can be self-defeating if we let public opinion guide all of our policy-making practices. I've forgotten his name. Who's the French guy from First Dates?
Oh,
Fred
Fred
Sirius.
Sirius.
Yeah, I was on this show recently, and he was on it, and he's been running these cooking courses for people in prison. And lots of people in the public get really angry about this because they say people in prison, they should be punished, they shouldn't be getting cooking lessons. But what he argued sort of very persuasively is that this saves the public money, because if you help people get into work when they leave here, they're less likely to come back into prison. And I think you can make the same argument about people on unemployment benefit, which is that, okay, maybe some people are going to get annoyed because it feels like people are getting something for nothing. But ultimately, if it helps them get back into work, it saves us money in the long term, and it really is a win-win for everyone.
And also, as we have all got a little bit lazier, Christine, we're all getting our shopping delivered, we're getting our takeaways delivered, we're all ordering off online shopping outlets. There's a lot of driving jobs out there, so actually just driving lessons in and of itself will give people the opportunity to get a first ladder onto a job. And if they have a job, they're not claiming benefits. It saves us all money.
No.
Okay,
not.
Christine,
I'm
you're a
sorry,
lady that's not for
definitely not.
turning. I appreciate that.
No,
I can't convince
I'm
you
not.
at all.
I'm a bit of a Margaret Thatcher when it comes to
No,
that.
that's all right. That's totally fine, Christine. Thank you so much for your call and sticking to your guns there. Carol from West Midlands, have I convinced you at all?
No, you haven't.
Okay, tell me why you find it so appalling.
I'm with Christine on this. Where does it stop? You give them free driving lessons, and okay, I can see the point that maybe it will encourage them to get a job in driving, but surely if they want to go into the care section or whatever, where you need, well, let's face it, everybody needs to drive nowadays. My granddaughters want to learn to drive. They're paying for it themselves by doing part-time jobs and whatever, but that's besides the point. The point is that if they really want to get into these jobs, then they would do what they need to do and learn to drive themselves. Where does it stop? Who's going to pay their insurance? Are they going to be claiming, oh, you can have so much car insurance for free, you don't need to pay your car tax for free? It's just going to snowball. Plus, I think it's going to be something else where people wanting to come into this country. We know that they shouldn't work, these illegal people. We know that. But
so hold on,
do.
Carol,
We all know that as well. And that's going to encourage them for another benefit.
You think people are going to make the treacherous journey across the channel for free driving lessons?
No, not just for free driving lessons. It's just something else they'll be getting for nothing. And that's why they're coming.
Okay.
I think I see a point. The overall settlement for people that arrive in this country aren't working. It may extend that idea that it's possibly too benevolent. I should say as well that my wife used to work in the care sector. A lot of companies will give you a car because they recognise that driving around is a big part of it. And maybe it's not unreasonable to expect that investment in yourself of getting a driving licence isn't unreasonable for the person to undertake.
Okay, Carol, thank you very much for your call. Gary from Essex, do you look more favourably on this potential policy? Not even a potential
Afternoon,
policy.
Storm. Nice to see you again, speak to you and the panel. What it is, there's thousands of people probably out there waiting to get driving lessons and saving up for them. Mm-hmm. They're costing so many pounds per hour for lessons. And if they fail them, they've got to take them again. But no disrespect to the unemployed. They're getting enough stuff now. But what should they get? Free driving lessons. Do they get insured? Will they be insured?
So there'll be a discount
if they have an accident.
Part of this for the care sector will be that they have a reduction in insurance. But you make a very good point, and actually our last caller briefly touched on that point as well. When you're paying for your own lessons, Michael, you have there's an impetus there to get really good at it and make sure you pass first time, so you don't have to take your test over and over and over again and cost yourself lots and lots of money. If you're unemployed and somebody is doing that for free, there is no real drive then to learn to drive. There is no drive to focus in on the lessons as much, perhaps.
Well, I mean, maybe that would be the case if you get unlimited tests. But if you offer people the chance to have some lessons and one test, then obviously there is going to be a big incentive to try and pass that, isn't there? Because, you know, I don't think many people are going to turn up to these lessons for the sake of it. I mean, even if your lessons are subsidised, if you're turning up to take them, you're going to try and pass. Why wouldn't you?
But you can still have a job without learning to drive, Michael, as you well know yourself.
Oh, yeah.
So why are we offering free driving lessons when actually there are plenty of jobs out there where you don't have to drive?
I can't drive. I'd love subsidised driving lessons, but I also don't mind if unemployed people get them and I don't. But I suppose one thing here, and this is interesting, because obviously in my job, I don't need to drive, but I'm very confident speaking. And I think there are lots of people at the moment who are out of work on long-term benefits, actually, because of mental health problems. We know this because they feel anxious, because they feel depressed. And the idea of going to a workplace can be quite intimidating. So I do think that there is potentially something unique about jobs involving driving, which is there could be a good way to ease people back into the workplace. Because if you've got sort of issues about self-esteem, you know, you don't have to really work in front of people. You can be in your own space and you can sort of ease yourself back into productive society.
Okay. Well, on that note, we'll move on to our final debate.